Hello, Dan McDonald here, Life Regenerator on YouTube. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of the Life Regenerator Show. Before we get started, I'm going to remember to say, hey, hit the subscribe button on these cool videos. And there's a notification bell that'll keep you in the loop. It's awesome when you give these videos a thumbs up. And I really appreciate all of your comments. That's what's inspired me today. I did a little post on Instagram, so I realized that Dan McDonald, it's probably not going to hurt to revisit the basics over and over and over again, because sometimes I forget. I mean, I do this stuff with both hands tied behind my back and blindfolded and automatically. And so sometimes I forget even some of the most basic stuff isn't really that well known. So I want to continue to encourage everyone to do the best you can all the time. Okay? And so I'll just keep going over this because I love it. I do it every day. This is no sweat off my back. So let's keep going here. Today I'm going to make watermelon juice. And I want to show you a couple, maybe a few variations really. So let me show you how to first cut the watermelon. Okay, so there's a couple different ways. One thing you can do is for a smaller one like this, it's, there's no real one way, but you do have to get them to a certain size. Okay, so the question is, you have to ask yourself, and this is one of the little tips here, do you want to include the rind, which number one brings in more nutrition, stretches out the juice, and lowers the sugar content? Now, do you want a nice, perfectly pink, beautiful, drinkable, childlike watermelon juice, which is awesome? I do that. And about 1/3 of the time, I include a vast majority of the peel. Usually I go straight for the pink. But if I was somebody who needed a little more nutrition via the watermelon juice, or I wanted to just kind of keep the sugars a little lower. Everyone has a different absorbability of the sugars. Me, I can drink a gallon of orange juice and it affects me negatively in no way, shape, or form. I can also eat infinite amounts of fat, and I can eat tons of protein as well. Because, when I started, before I even started raw, I was obsessed with the colon. I would read these anatomy charts, and I knew back then that the colon was the key to health. And so I began to really think, what am I putting in my mouth? What is it doing as it's going down there? I would read these anatomy charts. I was fascinated with the digestive system, and the colon really was my favorite organ of the human body. I had this intuition. We didn't know anything really about microbiology back then, but nowadays it's all there. And now that we understand the gastrointestinal tract and so much more information from mouth to anus and how it works, we can really use common sense, which is basically eat like a wild animal has for billions of years on this planet. You go to the tree, you pluck it off, you eat it. Okay, I know that's not what we're doing today, but it's just plain stuff. If you want to get the king's disease, then you eat like a king. Piles and piles of chicken and tomatoes and rice and corn and beans and bread and cheese and wine and meat and milk, and mix all that up in your guts and get arthritis and get gout and get overweight and get dysbiosis and have gut diseases, and then you're going to have brain diseases, and the king went nuts. And that's what we're seeing nowadays. We're seeing a mixture of the gourmet lifestyle of civilization, because the tongue is the hardest sense to control. And if you can control your sense of taste, you can do a lot of things with your life. You can really evolve rapidly and begin to eliminate, because isn't it just the things that are killing us? If we could just, that's what it is with almost everyone that calls me for consults, or everyone everywhere in my own life too. If you can get rid of the stuff that's hurting you, you'll realize that that which is good arises of its own, because it's already there inside of all of us. It's already there. It's happening. It's already beating your heart. It's breathing your lungs. It's digesting your food. And it's this automatic divine intelligence, which then, once you get the grosser forms of that, it starts to work on the subtle aspects of your mind, and you begin to change your thoughts. And you will stop saying things like, I can't afford that, I'm broke, that's too expensive, and you'll stop ruining your own life by what you say and what you think. You see, so the gut is very important to take care of, and the mind becomes sort of a byproduct of that, since the molecular biology is what affects the consciousness. So the very subtle, minute portions of the food that are released from the food itself, the consciousness, the metabolic byproducts of the microorganisms, which then express your genes. Your genes are just sitting there waiting for you to tell them what to do. And so if you eat right and you think right and you do some periodic fasting, you can activate youthing genes and mental clarity genes and no disease genes. Or you can do just the opposite, like most of us do, and just eat the pizza, be angry, don't breathe fresh air, get exercise, go to bed late, and drink coffee and beer and wine and do everything that everyone does because all the advertisers are telling you to do it, and you can ruin yourself. I'm going to go with simplicity, and that's the key here, my friends, because I was just talking to Tavis, and it's just a matter of it's just hard for people to let go, It's hard for people to let go of the things that are hurting them, really, because we're addicted, and I understand addiction better than anyone, so I'm not in any place to judge. That's why I want to encourage. I know somehow I got blessed with this thing, like I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes to get sober off of everything, and then that included food was the final last great drug, And now I've got it to the point where, through reading the literature, the yogic literature, and having a really meaningful meditation practice, and basically gauging a lot, because that meditation has really helped me to... is this a watermelon video? The meditation has really helped my brain, which is the main thing I needed to do, was to regenerate my brain. I've never told the story. One of these days, I'm going to sit down real soon and I'm just going to tell it all. This is what I'm afraid of. This is what I've struggled with all my life, and then especially on the social media. And I just want to get that off my chest so that you guys can realize that I've tried really hard just to always give you my best and not really... I did share my struggles in the beginning, but as I've gotten more mature, I kind of stopped. I just always put on this, even though there were times when I was really struggling, with this issue that I've had for my entire life. And that's why I just hate the vaccines, That's why I just, because not everyone gets brain injuries, but some of us do, Some of us get major inflammation in our brains from vaccines. And not everyone does, not everyone's at the threshold of toxicity. Now it's happening more and more often because there's so much more toxins. So the children being born are already at a threshold, and they were already exposed in utero to so many toxins that by the time they get one or two blaps, bing, bong, boom, gonzo, eyes shoot out in different directions, sudden infant death syndrome, 75% of deaths on the night of vaccination. I told you we were going to speak code. I don't even know how this is coming, but I did say a quick prayer, so I'm going to have faith that what's coming through needs to come through. Word. So anyways, I've been working really, really hard, and I have my own private little story, and all I wanted to do was make videos and pay my rent and pay my child support. And so some of those things now, my daughters are 18 and 21. You helped me to raise them up, and I appreciate all that. And I've grown up a bit, and my heart is changing, and I just really want to be of service. It's hard to let go of the make money at all costs programming. You know what I mean? Money is awesome. Don't get me wrong, and it's easy to make it. But it doesn't necessarily need to be like a focus, but we get so programmed with that I had that deeply embedded inside of me. And it was just as I was trying to, this is turning into a therapy session now, but as I was trying to release, that I couldn't, because I had to, I just had to raise my kids. So I stood up here and I actually went push, because I wanted to push away everyone who didn't understand that I'm a grown man making money, to raise my children and to take care of myself too, because I was raised on welfare. And would you rather have me be, would the haters rather have me be on welfare, because they're going to hate on me over there for that, or if I come over here and make something out of myself, So I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying these are some of the struggles I had in the past. But right now, we could all say the haters. You know what I'm saying? It's cool, though. So a lot has really changed because I've done the work. And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. Where I come and then leave for 6 months. What the hell happened to Dan? But I never got a vacation because I think about YouTube every damn day of my life. I think about you. And I think about me. And there was all this convoluted mess. And now I'm just working it out with you right here. I've worked it out a lot. I'm about 90% out of the tunnel. And all through those years, it was hard. I would get up here and I would push, because being on social media is not easy, especially if you don't go along with the status quo, or if you're thin, like you're just this thin little fruit and vegetable guy, and I'll talk more in the future about the balance of it all, how to maintain for a long time, how to maintain live foods. And you definitely don't want to go off in one extreme or the other. It's like all things that are raw plant-based have benefit, but you don't want to heat them up because you ruin everything. Now, to most people, that's balanced, but they're operating at a frequency that's a little lower, and I want to help people to elevate themselves. Yes, you may end up somewhere in nature. You and your husband and your 2 kids start eating raw foods. Y'all might look at each other and be like, what in the hell are we doing in this city? It's a concrete jungle. The concrete jungle. We got to get out of here. That's what happens. Like the fruit, the vegetables, the raw foods, the microorganisms in the soil wake you up and make you want to be an earth child again. That's why I went to the beach and just laid there on the sand, and just like for the first time in several weeks, because I've been kind of on my grind lately, I was like, finally I have a day where I had nothing. I could think of nothing. I emptied my mind and I was like, oh, praise the Lord, hallelujah. And then I went to the river, and I love the river, and the river was dirty, and most people would be, oh, the river's dirty, I won't go in. And I'm like, oh, the river's dirty, awesome, lots of microbes off the hill. So I even put a little of the water in my mouth, swish it around to get the dirty, muddy microbes, not swallowing them or anything like that, although it still wouldn't hurt me, but just to get inoculated with nature. So again, I could turn a watermelon video into the sermon of a lifetime. I'm having a lot of fun. I broke through. I did the work. I was sitting here, why does it bother me? Why do the haters bother me? And it's because, Dan, they are a reflection of you judging yourself. And so I started working on non-judgment, and as I cleared that away, I think we can see the positivity is overwhelming compared to, because I think people are starting to get the sense that, if you can't dig it, then, I'll be appropriate because I know kids are watching, but, I'm an adult and an old gangster, from the street and the hood, and I'll tell you, I would tell them right where to go. Because that's about how much I care about your meaningless opinion. Because I live a very simple, plain, basic life. But I didn't mean to turn this into a therapy session for myself. What I was trying to do was make some watermelon juice. So what I'm going to do is post that video because it was pretty cool and it had a good vibe to it. And it's just the vibe, And then a few little stories, and I don't know if I said anything of significance or not, except that one thing I would like to say is that I tried really hard to look inside and remove that debris, remove that self-criticism and that judgment. And now that it's gone, the YouTubes and the Instagram, I mean, forget about Facebook. It's just, they ruined it, and it's all suppression, man. It's all suppression. And so now there's little Facebook. Now there's Instagram and YouTube. And we still got to be cool, but we don't want to say too much truth, because the truth is illegal. That's just what it is. We have to go with the pre-programmed narrative, and we have to go with the mental conditioning. We have to go with the brainwashing. Otherwise, we're crazy, kooky, conspiracy nuts. But it's really just the truth, and they're always trying to suppress the truth. They always have, because the truth will set you free. The truth will really set you free, and the truth just becomes more and more and more as you learn more and more and you grow. If you're really open to receive the truth, you'll get to a point where you don't even care about your own thoughts. You only want the divine inflow of the presence, of the inner that is the outer, that is the all in all, the one. And you're just you just trust in the one. And you get your own mind out of the own way. Now, of course, the conditioning and the programming and the motor braining and just the electrical conductivity and the gut and everything, and you're everywhere and there's everything and all these programs, and you've got nervous system conditions and heavy metals on your nervous system and weird foods and stressful environments, so your whole nervous system and stuff. But that's the work we're doing here. That's the work that we're doing, and we're doing it. This is where we begin to maybe use the food as a foundation, but we really learn how to just sit there and dissect. So it's basically what happened to me, and I don't know if you understand this or not, but there's different types of yoga. And yoga is good, and it is divine. Yoga means union. That's all it means. Union with the divine. Now, I don't know how that could possibly be construed as a bad thing. It's a scientific, yoga is a scientific pathway to understanding the God immanent, or self-realization, or unity. And so there's jnana yoga, which is the yoga of the mind. So you're just using your discrimination. Yeah, okay. And then you realize, okay, everything is temporary, even this body. And you start to use your mind to discriminate. And the more the sattvic foods, the simple, plain, basic, natural, high energy foods, the more flow you have to the frontal lobe, or your contemplative mind. So the jnana yoga, or the contemplative mind, I was much more mental. I read my way into spirituality. I basically intellectualized my way to the heart. And the Buddha was very eloquently said, and I think about this every day, the way is not of the mind, the way is of the heart. So we use this brain as a tool, and we use it to discriminate. Eventually we find ourselves living in the heart, in love. And that is what I've chosen, because I saw a video, I saw a packaging by Robert Morse 13 or 14 years ago when I went to his first detox school way back. And on the top of the superfood blend was this thing that said, "Be love." And I was like, what the heck does that mean? And then I started reading Dr. Hawkins' work. So Robert Morse and that sticker, "Be love," planted the seed. Then as I read Dr. Hawkins' work, I began to understand with my mind what love was, and that began the process of cultivating the heart. And that's what I'm doing right now. It's cultivating love. That's what's helping me to love myself, to love others, to make peace with even those who can't agree. And it's been really a blessing. So I hope this video was a blessing. That's 20 minutes. I think that's cool enough. I'm going to do this right now. And then I'll just record that real quick. And now that I've gotten out of that part, I'll do this part, and I'll try to keep it simple so that I can go back to the basics. But I always end up giving a sermon, and I guess that's just what it is. Can you dig it, baby? Thank you for everything. Aloha. Watermelon juice next. I can do this. I can do this.